Morning of September 5th, 1939. The sun rises timidly over Poland, cut by thick columns of smoke rising from ravaged villages and fields, carrying the pungent smell of charred wood mixed with the metallic odor of dried blood and burned gunpowder. The air is heavy with humidity, the night's dew still clinging to the leaves, but the silence is broken by the distant roar of tank engines and the boom of explosions that make the earth vibrate like a wounded animal. On muddy roads, Polish soldiers, with torn uniforms and faces marked by exhaustion from days without rest, feel the weight of cold weapons against sweaty skin, aching muscles protesting with every step as they reposition to defend increasingly fragile lines. Civilians, waking in makeshift shelters or houses shaking from bomb impacts, hear the threatening hum of planes in the sky and clasp their hands in prayer, hearts racing with fear that the next attack will hit them directly. The German invasion proceeds relentlessly, the horror deepening like a wound that won't stop bleeding. Near Lodz, the German advance gains brutal speed. The 10th Army of General Walther von Reichenau, with its left wing penetrating deep into Poland's industrial heart, encircles Polish forces in a deadly pincer. Panzer tanks rumble along dusty roads, the ground trembling under metal tracks, while infantry advances behind, the air filled with the crack of rifles and shouts of orders in German. Polish soldiers of the Lodz Army, under the command of General Julius Rommel, try to resist in improvised defensive positions, feeling the heat of nearby explosions that hurl earth and shrapnel into the air, the smell of sulfur burning their nostrils. But the Luftwaffe bombing is merciless. Stuka planes diving with wailing sirens that chill the blood, machine-gunning columns of refugees fleeing on foot, carrying bundles of belongings and crying children. Bodies fall by the roadside, blood mixing with mud, while survivors hide in ditches, cold sweat running down their backs, terror paralyzing their movements. Families are separated in the chaos. Mothers screaming for lost children amid suffocating dust, the bitter taste of dust and fear in their dry mouths. Not far away, toward Kielce, the German right wing advances with equal ferocity. Wehrmacht troops, supported by heavy artillery, break through weakened Polish lines, the thunder of cannons echoing through valleys, making windows of rural houses shatter like fragile glass. Civilians in villages like Busko-Zdrój and Jedrzejów wake to the noise of doors being kicked in. German soldiers invading homes in search of supposed partisans, the air filling with shouts of accusation and pleas. In brutal reprisals, similar to those of previous days, groups of Poles are rounded up in squares, including intellectuals, teachers, and local Jews, forced to march under the relentless sun, sweat streaming down pale faces of fear. Summary executions occur in improvised ditches, the rhythmic sound of shots mixed with muffled cries, the smell of fresh turned earth with blood making the air unbreathable. Women and children are not spared, their moans echoing before the oppressive silence, while bodies are left exposed as warnings, the buzz of flies becoming the only sound in the aftermath. Survivors, hidden in nearby forests, feel their hearts pounding in their chests, the chill of damp earth against their skin, as panic spreads like fire in dry grass. In Piotrkow, Trybunalski, the horror reaches even deeper levels. German soldiers set fire to dozens of Jewish homes, flames devouring old wood with a deafening crackle, the air filled with the acrid smell of dense smoke and burned flesh. Those who manage to escape the collapsing structures are shot without mercy, gunshots echoing through the streets as bodies fall on the dusty ground, blood spreading like dark rivers. In one house that escaped the initial flames, 6 Jews are dragged out by the invaders, ordered to run for their lives. 5 are shot immediately, their bodies convulsing on the earth, while the 6th, Reb Bunim Label, is severely wounded and dies shortly after, agonizing with the fire of pain in his veins. Many villages in Poland are burned that week, thousands succumbing in voracious fires or killed while fleeing in despair, the hot air burning lungs and terror blinding senses. 2 wars spread simultaneously. The battlefront with armed men, exchanging fire and attacks on once immune villages and hamlets, where the smell of destruction lingers like a curse. While Poland agonizes, the world responds in varied ways. In the United States, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt announces American neutrality in a radio address, his grave voice echoing in homes across the Atlantic, where families feel a shiver of relief mixed with apprehension, the smell of morning coffee suddenly sour with the distance of the European war. But for Poles on the front line, these words sound empty, unable to stop the German steamroller. In South Africa, Prime Minister Barry Hertzog loses a parliamentary vote on neutrality and resigns, the political air charged with tension as the country prepares to align with Britain, declaring war the next day. South African families, hearing the news, feel the weight of the decision, the sweat of uncertainty on a continent distant from the conflict. In New Zealand, Prime Minister Michael Joseph Savage reaffirms unconditional support for Britain, with a declaration echoing on radios, citizens feeling a patriotic chill, the smell of tropical rain mixed with distant resolve. At sea, the conflict expands tumultuously, respecting no limits. German submarines sink 5 unarmed merchant ships that day, 4 British and 1 French. Torpedoes tearing hulls with explosions echoing in the cold Atlantic waters, the smell of oil and salt mixed with the panic of crews struggling to survive in icy waves. Mothers and sailors cling to lifeboats, the cold penetrating bones as screams are lost in the wind. The British do not take long to respond. The cruiser HMS Ajax sinks 2 German merchant ships in accordance with the laws of war, as the First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, communicates to the War Cabinet, the ships not having stopped when ordered. Every day, new cases of disregard for the laws of war by the Germans are recorded, the salty ocean air charged with tension and the rocking of waves as a constant reminder of submerged chaos. In Berlin, Adolf Hitler follows front reports with growing confidence. The sound of maps unfolding mixed with the clink of glasses in premature celebrations, while the smell of cigarettes and paper fills command rooms. In Poland, German forces cross the Vistula River and capture the Grudziad's fortress. The thunder of artillery making the ground tremble, soldiers feeling the weight of imminent victory against Polish despair. In the Atlantic, the United States Navy begins its first neutrality patrol, ships watching distant waters, the infinite horizon reflecting global uncertainty. The 5th day of the war reveals layers of horror. Not just battles in open fields, but fires devouring homes, shots reaping innocents in flight, and sinkings at sea that ignore old rules. Soldiers on the front feel exhaustion in their bones, civilians the terror of sudden loss. What will tomorrow bring? More flames engulfing villages, more ships vanishing into the depths, or an echo of resistance? To not miss the next day, subscribe, like, and comment.